Hey everyone, my name's Luke and welcome to the Monster Hunter World Shoulder Tackle Challenge. To start out, let's quickly go over the rules. I cannot deal any damage with the Greatsword itself, but that means I can still use traps or slinger ammo for example. And I will not be using defender armor as it makes me way too strong. By the way, all the gameplay you will see was recorded live on my stream, so if you like the content, feel free to check it out, as I stream daily. And that's it, so without further ado, let's start the challenge. First, I'm going to create my character. This is my version of the Giga Chat. Don't judge me, I tried my best. And also, I can't forget my Perlico Chadicus. After I sit through the intro and unskippable cutscenes and scripted events, I finally make it to the first quest, killing small jaguars. Of course, this was very easy, but I immediately realized the first problem with the shoulder tackle, its mobility and range. I then took care of the Cassodon very easily, and it was already time for a first large monster, the Great Jaguars. I started the fight with a boulder into a KO, one big advantage of the shoulder tackle being able to knock out monsters, and even Clegger extensions allowing for 2 free shoulder tackles. And so the Great Jaguars went down pretty easily. Next up, the Kuriyaku. He was tougher because his rock prevented a lot of damage, but I showed him who had the bigger rock, and once it was gone, he quickly went down. I crafted some basic armor like the bone helmet for some health boost, and it was already time for the next large monster, the Buke. He ended up running me over a few times, but in the end, the tackle prevailed. Now it was time for the Wildspire Waste and the best kind of quest. While waiting for the researchers, I gathered some resources, defended the researchers, and then took on the Barroth. Barroth was actually quite dangerous, with its quick follow-up attacks and a lot of damage, also caused by me having to stand still and shoulder tackle, that means taking chip damage through moves. After taking it down, I realized I could upgrade my Greatsword even before hunting down Anjanath. If you didn't know, slamming a monster into a wall gives you a material and you can do it twice before it enrages. So I quickly went to do an expedition, slammed Anjanath into the wall 2 times, got a scale, and therefore could upgrade my Greatsword early. The next hunt didn't wait long. Gerotoda's water blight made me realize how dangerous running out of stamina is, especially if I shoulder tackle a few times in a row, leaving me with no stamina and being unable to roll afterwards. Next up was Tobi-Kadachi. Even before the hunt I was pretty nervous. He's the first pretty hard fight in Monster Hunter World in my opinion, and Thunderblight makes it easier to get stunned and practically guaranteeing a card if you don't have enough defense. And it didn't take Tobi long to card me and send me back to base camp. You see, it's actually quite difficult to time the shoulder tackle and when to decide to stop or to keep going as far as you can. You see, in this situation I had the problem that I couldn't just hold the charge for an infinite amount of time. The TCS comes out eventually, but I also didn't have enough time to shoulder tackle once more to extend that time. So I ended up not shoulder tackling but also not being able to dodge, which sent me to the base camp. I returned with vengeance in my mind and actually managed to take down Tobi-Kadachi pretty easily. With one tough quest behind me and another one on the horizon, that being Anjanath, I quickly had to pet Poogie just to calm me down and prepare myself for the tough hunt ahead. Now it was time for the big pink T-Rex Anjanath. And this is a good time to mention how I managed to tenderize the monster's head. As you know, I can't use the tenderize attack with my Greatsword, but maybe some of you don't know that actually turning around the monster by hitting the monster with a clutch claw eventually tenderizes the part, precisely after 5 hits. That being said, the fight started off pretty well. I dropped the boulder on its head and managed to KO it, but then I missed a few shoulder tackles, showing the very limited range of the shoulder tackle. Then Rathalos paid us a visit and showed Anjanath who's the boss of the ancient forest. Afterwards I managed to hit this slick slinger burst. Oof. However, I ended up getting pinned and blasted into oblivion, resulting in the second card of the challenge. I tracked down Anjanath to its nest, but not before getting lost in the ancient forest, of course, and took down Anjanath. Now it was time for the worst quest in the game by far, Zora Magdaros Part 1. If you've played the game already, you know how this goes. You just shoot some cannons, wait around, destroy the magma cores, and then wait for Nergigante to spawn. I ended up getting bored waiting for Nergigante, so I took a quick break. But when I came back, Of course, I was in base camp. I couldn't just let it dishonor me, so I quickly went back and fought it off. Zora finally destroyed the second barrier, marking the end of the quest. I enter Coral Highlands, kill Tsitsiyaku because I thought I had to kill him, I can't read, and unlock the camp. I shortly return to Astera to craft some gear for us and for Chadicus to absolutely destroy Paolumu. With the acquired material, we make it to the Rotten Vale, where I quickly and decisively bully Radovan till it's dead. Wow, that came out much darker than I anticipated. Anyway, that marks the end of day 1. Start of day 2. I quickly sight a Great Gyros. My dumbass forgot I could have done that in the last expedition, before Legiana stops us from exploring the Rotten Vale further. Of course, it ends up being quite annoying by being very fast and flying around a lot. Luckily, I brought a lot of flash pods, which did not prevent me from almost dying, but in the end, I took it down. Next up, our good boy Clifford. I make good use of Odogaron's high paralysis weakness by kicking the shit out of the yellow boys to begin the fight. Odogaron scares me with a weird looking jump before running off. This is a fitting time to explain why I chose the health booster as a gadget. Because shoulder tackling over and over leaves me stuck at the same place while still taking a lot of chip damage, the health booster actually proved to be a lifesaver. The Gyros and I managed to pummel it until it limps away. I track it down to its nest to complete another successful hunt. Now it's time to take the highest point in the food chain by taking down Rathalos and Diablos. I decided to go after Rathalos first. After an introductory cutscene, you end up in an expedition and have no idea where Rathalos is. So I end up chasing his ghost for about 10 minutes before I decide to hunt another Engineer to unlock the camp at the top of the ancient forest. When it's finally time to hunt down Rathalos, I start the fight with a wallbang and make him break the dam. I jump down, get some free shoulder tackles in, and he flies off. Rathalos, being the king of the sky, flies around a lot, but luckily I brought some flash pods again to bring it down and get some damage in. The uneven ground highlights the limited range of the shoulder tackle, as I end up getting pushed off the log, where Rathalos is lying on. I almost cut it again because of the shoulder tackle's hyper armor. It doesn't take long, however, until it flies to its nest. After the wake up wallbang, I struggle a bit with Rathalos flying around, but Chadicus comes in clutch and puts him to sleep. And after a few shoulder bashes, the quest is done. Next up, Diablos, the monster with the coolest introductory cutscene in the game. Both of its horns break surprisingly quickly, but I get greedy, so I take a lot of chip damage and I even almost die. But I've learned that in times of need, I can count on Chadicus. The rest of the fight goes pretty well because Diablos isn't too fast and leaves me enough time to heal up after I get hit. With the apexes of the Wildspire Waste and Ancient Forest down, it's time for the second worst quest in the game, Zoramaclaros Part 2. I spare you the quest, but note that Nergigante actually came close to killing me twice, showing that he won't be an easy fight. Completing the quest means that we've reached high rank, but Puke is still easy. Now comes the worst part of the game though, searching for pink Rathian tracks. I do some random multiplayer quests to speed up the process and quickly end up gathering all tracks, which marks the end of day 2. I start off day 3 by crafting some better armor and hunting down a low rank Rathian to unlock the camp in Wildspire Waste. Then I take on the quest of hunting down an high rank Engineer before I die to an attack that has an extended hitbox, showing that hyper armor is a double-edged sword. The rest of the hunt goes well until I find a Cactua. I place a trap next to it, wait for Engineer to walk into it and sit back and watch. With Engineer down, it's finally time to hunt pink Rathian. Everything goes flawlessly until I underestimate the hitbox of the fireball. A pink Rathian is still a Rathian, so it keeps being annoying, flying around until I flash it down over and over again. That being said, Rathians are not that hard of a hunt, so I take it down quickly. Now that the Elder's Recess is unlocked, I quickly explore it by searching for Nergigante tracks and seeing Dodogama, Lavasioth and Uragan. The time to face off against Nergigante has finally come. I repeat what I have learned, wallbang and wait patiently for openings. Luckily, Nergigante provides a lot of staggers besides the KOs. The fight goes well, maybe so well that I get overconfident, which leads me to shoulder tackle through the first part of a 2-hit attack, getting absolutely nuked by the second. While fighting in Nergigante's nest, I come close to dying a few times, but end up taking it down. After that, I help out some other players hunting Nergigante, and of course, after the first hunt, I am missing a single carapace, so I do it a second time. With the gathered materials, I am able to craft the Nergigante Waste, which provides Stamina Surge, a very important skill, as it allows me to roll quickly after a shoulder tackle. I won't show me gathering all the Elder Dragon tracks because it's just me resetting the area, walking the same path over and over again. So let's just cut right to the interesting part. Time for the Elder Dragon Toaster. I end up dealing a lot of damage because Teostra is quite prone to knockdowns. So it doesn't take long until it flies back to its nest. I expect the hunt to be almost over, but again I get humbled by the monsters. My almost non-existent mobility makes me get hit by some explosions and almost dying quite a few times. However, I manage to take down Teostra before anything bad happens. Next up, Kushala the Aura. Of course he does what he does best, flying around and being annoying. Luckily, I brought enough flash pods, and with the flash pods not being nerfed like an Iceborne, I get quite a few shoulder tackles in. The minutes go by without any trouble, so I get cocky and underestimate the range of Kushala the Aura's strongest attack, which leaves me stunned and with a sliver of health, but Cheticus comes to my rescue. And not long after, I take down Kushala. Last up, Balhazak. The Miasma, in addition to the Gyros, make the stun very tough. Luckily, I brought Mulberries. It runs away and I manage to hit one of the two bones hanging from the ceiling. Later, during a knockdown, I don't realize that I'm standing in acid and almost succumb to it. In addition, I get a part break, which means I won't get a knockdown later on in the hunt. Shortly afterwards, it runs to the area with the Gyros, which I quickly regretted. Together, we deal a lot of damage to Balhazak until it limps back to its nest. I do the classic wake up wallbang, and after a few shoulder tackles, the monster is down. And you know what that means? We have finally arrived at the final monster, the final obstacle between us and completing the shoulder tackle challenge. Xeno'jiiva. I start off the fight by luring Xeno'jiiva to each of the 4 boulders and dropping them on it. And with that, after a few shoulder tackles, the first phase is already over. Xeno's size means that I can't hit its head most of the time, but luckily its forelegs take a lot of damage and it also drops a lot of slinger ammo. And the reason for this is that the game wants to make sure that you have enough slinger ammo to shoot down Xeno'jiiva in case it takes off. I make good use of the slinger pods by using the slinger burst, which pierces a lot of times, absolutely shredding Xeno'jiiva. Suddenly I get surprised by Xeno's speed and get hit, and despite the iframes which are granted after getting hit, I get hit by the follow-up explosion. This explosion leaves me clinging onto life and stunned. Luckily I have Cheticus on my side, but sadly my poor defense combined with the low amount of heal aren't enough and I end up carting. Slinger bursting the dragon pods actually ends up being quite useful, dealing a lot of damage. After quite some time, Xeno powering up leaves me unfazed as I shoulder tackle through it, and not long after, the fight is finally over. And that was the Monster Hunter World Shoulder Tackle Challenge. Honestly, this challenge run went far better than I expected. So yeah, I had a lot of fun, and I hope you had a lot of fun watching this video too. If you did, subscribe and leave a like for more Monster Hunter content. If you didn't, leave a dislike and tell me about it in the comments. I really need all the feedback I can get. And if you want to check out my stream where all the content for the video was recorded, feel free to do so. Thank you so much for watching my first cut YouTube video, and I hope to see you next time.